Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Biba, the Diva Adams here with me today. How you doing, Biba?
Hi, Cedric. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I'm real happy that you were able to be here with us today, and I'm really looking forward to a great conversation. And for everybody who's tuned in right now, whether you be on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire, Facebook, or YouTube, it means a lot to me each and every time you tune into our show here. Drop some emojis into the chat, questions, comments, and contribute to the conversation. Biba, where are you from?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan. What up, though?
What up, though? That's right. That's a Detroit greeting. If you guys didn't know, that's how people from Detroit, they greet each other like that. Where'd that greeting come from? Where did it originate?
You know what? I did do some research on that. And honestly, what up, though, is, I don't know. It's just a colloquialism. It's basically like it originated from what's up, though.
No, yeah.
And then it did what we do with language.
Right.
We broke it down and made it comfortable for one another, but it's very much a greeting. It's very much the way that we say hello to one another, no matter where any Detroiter is, no matter where you are in the world. If you tell someone that you're from Detroit and that person is from Detroit, the next thing that they're going to say is "What up, though?"
What up, though? Yeah, that's right. That's right. What are some other Detroit traditions that we should know about?
Well, gosh, I mean, I love it here. I love my hometown. I haven't always lived here. I moved back about almost 4 years ago now. But I love the food. We have I don't know if you know, but like Verner's ginger ale.
Yeah.
Fago,
don't tell me they're headquartered there. Don't tell me they're headquartered there.
They originated here. Fago soda.
Okay.
We call it pop.
Right.
But Fago Pop originated here.
Okay.
And they're still based here. We have our own chips, our favorite chips, like Better Made chips that are from here. Like we just Coney dogs. Like we have our own things, and I think that's one.
How's your pizza? Let's start.
Detroit style pizza is amazing. Like if you look at all of these big brands like Pizza Hut and Little Caesars, like they try to imitate Detroit style pizza.
Wow.
But, you can really only get it from like a good local spot.
Right. Yolanda Riley's in the building. We saying hello to her. Chastity Curry is here. We say hello to you too. Biba is a writer. She's been a journalist for over 20 years. And you said something powerful. You said that the colloquialism, what up, though, exemplifies what we do with language. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. When we take a phrase or a couple phrases and we make them our own, do we then give it the meaning that we want it to have? Is that our power, if you will?
I mean, well, there's a whole website, urbandictionary.com that's dedicated to helping people understand the way that Black people speak, and so it's very clear and obvious that, we have our own language, we have our own speaking styles. In my college career, I was a historian. Both of my degrees are in history, and I respect who we are as a people and a culture. I respect what we do with language, that we take and make everything in America our own. And I think that's one thing that is so
powerful.
Intimidating. It's powerful and it's intimidating.
Yeah.
we're seeing that, with this fight that everybody's doing to try to push back against critical race theory.
That's right. What are your thoughts about critical race theory?
I'm still working on it. I'm still pushing my way through it. I'm still trying to understand it. I do have an article coming with the GRIO that I hope to be a very, very, very primary explanation of what critical race theory is. Like, I want a fourth grader to be able to read this article and understand what critical race theory is.
That's
So
right.
I'm still working on that at this point, and I do need to, kick my butt into gear, but but I've been pretty busy over the last 2 weeks, so I am going to be working on that, and hopefully I'll have that for you guys by the end of next week.
This is a very important topic, everybody. I want you to go out there and look up critical race theory. One of the main reasons why this is important is because it's being discussed whether or not this should be taught in schools. And so anytime young children, school-age children are going to be talking about a new subject such as critical race theory, it's a big discussion for the entire country to have.
I can give you a basic definition, in that the basic definition of critical race theory explains that racism and systemic racism, the oppression of Black people, has been built into this country since its foundation. And it has had a fundamental ripple effect for the last 400 years. And so it doesn't teach white kids like, oh, my ancestors were racist, and that means I'm also racist. It doesn't teach Black kids, oh, my ancestors were slaves, and that means I'm also a slave. It teaches that systemic separation, separate but equal, was the law of the land here for a very long time. It teaches that systemic separation or racial hierarchy is built into the foundation of America. And that if we're ever going to be a better America, we have to overcome that. And that's a pretty elementary definition.
One of the things I appreciate about it is that it speaks to the notion that there are more conversations that we need to have as we educate our children and as we educate one another. And for a long time, we haven't had a formal way to talk about certain things. And so I'm seeing, a way emerging to talk about the systemic racism that sometimes people talk about, and it's dismissed as, oh, that's a myth, or, where's your proof? Where are your receipts? Well, here is a body of work that's going to discuss the actual way that it's built into our society. So I look forward to what's going to come out of it, without a doubt. Now, talk to me about your upbringing in Detroit. What was it like?
Yeah, I was raised in Detroit. I was born and raised in Detroit. My mom was a single mom, and she actually decided to pursue education in her older years, like in her 30s, and I was an only child. So I remember I would go to classes with her. I was very engaged in the school that she went to. She went to a college called Marygrove College. And ultimately, 10, 15 years later, I would actually attend that very same college and graduate from that college. And another 10 years later, I am the chief storyteller of that college, because the college is closed now, but they have a conservancy that manages the campus and manages the efforts that are being done on campus, and I'm the chief storyteller of that campus. So I'm very grateful. I had a great upbringing. I had amazing parents. All of my parents were amazing, and I don't say both because I had a lot of parents. It takes a village. I was That's definitely right. A part of a village. So I had amazing parents, and I had amazing, grandparents and my aunts and uncles. So I had an amazing upbringing here in Detroit. And at some point, I decided to move. I moved away and I went to Atlanta. Shout out to the ATL.
That's right.
To it for
Yeah.
sure.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I went to Atlanta for about 6 or 7 years, and I enjoyed my time there. And then I left Atlanta and I went to New York City, and I enjoyed my time there as well.
Okay. So you just
Um,
been enjoying yourself.
yeah, I get around like Tupac, baby.
Right.
And then I just, I moved back to Detroit, so I'm happy to be back home.
Okay. Now, was storytelling a tradition in your village, as you say? Did you ever sit around and listen to the histories of your family? Where's your family originally from? Are they from Detroit or from somewhere else?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that question, because that definitely made me like remember my grandmother was very much a storyteller. And like me, she told the same stories all the time. Like
Right.
I if you
Yeah.
if you hang around me enough, you'll hear the same like two or three stories,
Right.
several times. But yeah, my grandmother was a storyteller, and she used to tell stories a lot. She told a lot of her stories skipped over like the middle part of her life.
Mhm.
She really liked to talk about, when she was a chef, and how she learned to cook, and she liked to talk a lot about that part of her life.
Mhm.
My mother's family is originally from Mississippi, and my father's from Pennsylvania, from Philly. What up, though, Philly?
Okay.
And so yeah, so that's kind of how I came to be, cooked up in the pot.
In the melting pot. That's right. You ever go back down to Mississippi?
I have not. I have not. I have never gone to visit my family's land in Mississippi. And, I really appreciate you asking, because that's something that I definitely want and need to do.
Mhm.
And it's definitely been on my mind. So hopefully in the next year or two, I'll get to go down there and see my folks.
There is so much power in the different regions of our country here. The South cannot be understated as an influence on everything that we do. Some of the most charismatic people I've ever met are from down south, and I wondered. Something told me to ask you that because I'm like, I know you're people from down south somewhere. Most people that I've met from Detroit, they have family down south, and
Oh,
so
we got a straight Mississippi Alabama connection. And
right.
then also, because I lived in Atlanta so long, I have a little weird accent,
Hmm. Yeah, because you spent years in other places. Spent
Yeah.
years in other places. All right. So now, what was middle school like for you going into high school in Detroit? Did you recognize changes going on in your city, or were you the cream of the crop where you really got the best of Detroit the whole time?
Oh my gosh. I grew up basically like, I was pretty poor, honestly. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I was like I wouldn't even I was whatever is like one step under middle class.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? With my mom. My mom was a single mom, and she didn't have a full college education at the time. So we just we got it in how we live.
Right.
And we hustled, we grind. She used to take a lot of classes. She learned how to work, and my family owned a flower shop, so she learned how to do flowers. Like, my family has always just been like, Booker T. Washington said, like, cast down your bucket where you stand.
Mhm.
My family has always just been, my grandmother would almost shame you if you didn't have two jobs. Like, what
Right.
are you doing? Like, what are you doing with
Mhm.
the rest of your day?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we just worked. We worked hard, and I learned to find pleasure in working, and I learned how to do things that I enjoyed for a living.
That's right.
And I'm really grateful for that because I'm still doing that to this day.
Right.
To this day, I'm not, I ain't working at the plant building cars. I'm not,
Right.
I get to sit at home all day and write for a living. I honestly couldn't think of anything better. The only thing
Right.
better would be if I got to sit at home all day and read for a living. That,
Right. What do you think is more powerful, reading or writing?
reading.
Why?
Um, because with writing, you're going to ultimately produce a lot of what it is that you read. If it wasn't for the fact that I was a strong reader, I learned how to read when I was 3 years old.
Mhm.
And my grandmother used to love to tell the story. I would sit on her couch and I would sit, my little 3-year-old self with the newspaper in front of me. And ultimately, it got harder and harder for me to read the words, the headlines.
Mhm.
And that's how they knew that I needed glasses. And I
Wow.
started I started wearing glasses at 5 years old. They knew I needed glasses because I couldn't read the headlines anymore.
Mhm.
And so I think that reading has opened my eyes, opened my life. It has given me a full language. It has given me a vocabulary. It has given me everything. I teach kids sometimes. I've taught. I was an educator for a very long time, and I still do a journalism camp every summer. And of everything, of anything that I could tell these kids, how to write, how to do this, how to do that, how to draft an email. The most important thing I could ever tell them is to read, read, read.
Mhm. Do you have any suggestions of books that young adults could be reading? For instance, let's say young adults.
Yeah, so the my favorite book and the book that I could most suggest to anyone is a book by Stephen King, who was my favorite author. Um it's called On Writing, and it's not a horror book like Stephen King is known for. It's actually the first half is autobiographical, and
Okay.
then the second half is a toolbox of writing, skills and techniques. And the book is called On Writing by Stephen King.
Okay.
I think that's the most powerful book that I could ever recommend, pretty much anybody. It'll send you to go and find the other tool books that you can write,
Right.
and that you can read, but it would be that, and it would also be The Alchemist,
Okay.
um, by Paulo Coelho. A lot of people talk about that book. You might have heard a lot of people, mention
Yeah,
that
I have.
book.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's an amazing book, and I've taught it for years. I've read it probably 10, 12 times. I'm sitting here on my desk looking at it right now. So those would be like the two that I would put way up there at the top.
What is it about this book, The Alchemist, that you got, you know, in a position where you found it so valuable? What was it in that book that really was of substance so much to you?
Well, The Alchemist is all about a spiritual journey.
Mhm.
Um, it's about it's about a boy who goes out on a journey, and everything that he sees on his to find a treasure. That's important. He goes out on a journey to find a treasure. And everything that he sees on the way, and of course when he ultimately discovers the treasure. But it's the lesson of the book, just like the lesson of life, is in the journey.
Mm.
And it's very simply written. You could a 10, 11 year old child could read this book and enjoy the book,
Okay.
as well as an adult. And so that's why I love it so much, just because it really is timeless.
That's right. I take a lot out of that right there because I feel that life is a journey. I feel that there is one huge lesson for all of us to get, which is your higher self, that it exists inside, waiting to be discovered by you. And I think we have so many distractions in our lives, things that happen, displacement, whatever comes your way that distracts you from your inner self, your inner higher self, if you will. And I think a lot of people, they never discover their inner self. And I think it's a tragedy for those people who have difficulty answer questions like, who are you? You'd be surprised how many people give you a second and third look by being so direct. And sometimes they don't really have a substantial answer to that.
Well, I think that's because we aren't taught to spend time with ourselves. I grew up in the public school system. I don't remember shit about trigonometry. I remember taking it. I remember having my first panic attacks in a trig class, and going through math, and I just was not good at math. And nobody listened to me. Nobody listened to me. I was not heard. And I went to a prestigious high school.
Okay.
And nobody listened to me when I told them that I could not do math. And nobody ever told me that I could be a writer. I didn't go to school to be a writer. When I went away to college, when I graduated from high school, I was 17 years old. And actually, a week from today, it'll be like 20 something years,
Yeah.
When I graduated from high school, I was 17 years old, and nobody told me that I could be a writer. Even though I was good at writing and I had good English grades and I went to this elite high school, no one told me that I could be a writer. No one told me, have you considered journalism? No one told me you should write and here are some scholarships. No one guided me. When I left school, I went away to Clark Atlanta University and was going to be a dentist.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so the problem is we don't have institutions that listen to our children. It very much concerned me when I was listening to Eric Adams, who is running for mayor in New York City, and he was saying that based on technology, teachers could teach 300 to 400 kids. And I'm like, no, they cannot. Like, we need more people in our schools.
Right.
And if it's not going to be teachers, then it has to be community organizations, it has to be mentors, it has to be people who have money, people like you and I who can spend 2-3 hours a week going in and mentoring a kid. Like, we have to really, really engage, because I'm concerned our children have lost an entire year of education and socialization.
Right.
And there is going to have to be a plan put together on how to help our kids when they go back to school in the fall.
That's right. For years, if you ask me, for decades now, there have been an elephant in the room surrounding this situation right here. The value of spending time with yourself. We haven't had that. Like you said, nobody taught you how to spend time with yourself in order to get to know yourself, in order to actually tap into your actual destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, like you said, nobody sat you down and explained that to you. Nobody taught you how to do that.
Yeah.
Now, multiply that by the millions of us who are growing up, not necessarily learning how to spend time with ourselves.
As horrible and absolutely gross as I think Ron DeSantis is of a governor of Florida, he did sign a bill into law today that requires every morning, first period, at least 1 minute, no more than 2 minutes of quiet meditative time for all of Florida's public school children. And for his dirty, underhanded intentions, it was to put prayer back in schools. You know what I'm saying? But also, It's a good thing to let kids just sit with themselves in the morning.
Yeah.
For 1 minute or two, to sit and let them sit and breathe and gather their thoughts and meditate for a minute. Like, I was as gross as I think he is. I think that I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with it too.
I agree with that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, Ron DeSantis, fuck you. You're disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
My bad. Sorry, I don't
Silence.
know if I can use profanity.
Listen, it's a free country. But the silence is begging to be heard. The silence. And the whole, I feel that in large part, our societies are moving away from that. There are so many destinies that want to be manifested out of us. People that look like you and I, people that don't look like you and I. And our world becomes a better place when those destinies are manifested. But if we have these new age ideas that I can teach 300 kids with one person by putting them in a Zoom room, then we are getting further away from the concept of one actually manifesting their destiny. And so we our window of manifestation is getting blotted, and people are getting in the way of it. But it's conversations like these that remind the general public of the value of what's inside of us.
I think it really comes down to spending time with people. Taking, I mean, it could be 3 minutes talking to a server, ask your server what's their name. When your server comes back over to the table, use their name. Oh, hi, Kim. Right. Thank you, Kim. You know what I'm saying? Like, humanize every interaction. I humanize every interaction that I'm in. It doesn't matter if I'm in a grocery store, if I'm at a restaurant, if I'm at IKEA, no matter where I am, I humanize every interaction. I call the person. If I can see their name, I call them by their name. That's a basic thing that you can do, is humanize your interactions. Because then, just be somebody who is a good part of somebody's day. You don't have to know my name. I don't have to tell you everything about me. I don't have to turn you on to some major money-making, opportunity. Like, I could just be the person who respected you and called you by your name while you were at work.
That's right.
And so I think that, I do think I try to take opportunities where I can, to help people where I can. But even when I can't, even if it's just something small, like going to Whole Foods and speaking politely to people. I don't litter. Like, I take care. I take care of myself. I ensure I try to take care of the people that I interact with, and I take care of my surroundings. If that's the little teeny bit that I can do, then imagine the whole 300 million of us in America and the 7 billion of us in this world doing at least that much.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Biba, the Diva Adams, and we'll be right back with more with her after this brief message. You guys sit tight. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network and our viewership. And we're back. Biba, how you feeling out there?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
That's
still
good.
working.
Okay.
Still working, still checking that schedule.
What projects are you working on right now? What do you do these days?
Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate you asking me that. So I am a daytime news writer for the GRIO. Shout out to the GRIO. I really love that publication. I love our publisher, Byron Allen. He's just very innovative and has really been focused on helping us create a strong direction um, as a unit and as a company and as an entity, as a Black news entity, particularly as we kicked ass during the presidential news cycle, during the presidential election 2020 news cycle. And so I really appreciate working there. I work for the GRIO early in the morning. I get up at like 7 a.m. and
Okay.
I write news stories for a couple of hours. And then after that, I get back to work here in Detroit as the editor at large of Model D Media, where I write Detroit focused content, and I write feature articles about
Really?
Detroit. And so I'm pretty busy all day.
Wow. Talk to me a little bit about the the background of the griot. What is the what like where did it come from? I've heard about it. I understand it's a big deal. I heard about Byron Alley and his triumphs over the past year and more than that. But for the general public who might not know, what is the griot? Did
I
I say
mean,
it correctly?
yes, it is. That's the correct spelling. I wish I knew, honestly. And
Yeah.
that's you. You're gonna make me do my homework. I'm gonna write that down right now and put that on my notes.
No, don't do that. No, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no.
I'm gonna put that
Listen,
on my
listen,
notes.
listen, listen, listen. Well, first of all,
No, it's okay because I'm gonna put that on my notes because I work for this company. I enjoy the company and I enjoy what I do for the company presently.
Mhm.
But they have been around
Yeah,
for
that's right.
at least a decade.
That's right.
And I would like to know a little bit more about the evolution and how they got started. Like that, that makes sense. That's information that I could probably use eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put that on my notes to kind of look some of that up.
Okay.
and
Now,
and the same for the company that I work for, also here in Detroit, Model D. They've been around for 15 years,
really,
and I can't say that I've been a reader for 15 years.
right.
But I've been engaged with the company for at least 5.
Okay.
And so that's a smart thing. That's game for your
Yeah,
readers.
that's right.
Do some research into where you work.
Mhm. You are funny. I'm liking this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some emojis in the building right now because Biba Adams, she's been up since early this morning. She's been cranking out stories and she talks about it as if it's effortless. But I wanted to circle back to this for a second. A griot speaks to the ancient tradition of storytelling. And we opened our conversation up with the value of storytelling. And so I find it very interesting that you write for an establishment that is essentially called the storyteller. You
Yeah,
know, and another part of that power is that you are a storyteller on behalf of our people, the African
yeah,
Americans.
yeah,
And
definitely. I'm
so
gonna
that
get
puts
that.
you in a particular position. Go ahead.
I'm definitely gonna get that tattooed somewhere. Like I gotta find the right place to put it, but I'm definitely getting griot on me somewhere. Um, a griot in our tradition in West African tradition was one of the most treasured and beloved people in the tribe.
That's right.
It was the historian. It was the person who knew everything about everybody.
That's right.
And just was very treasured.
Mhm.
And to even be able to study at the foot of a griot
Mhm.
was an honor. Not only to be one yourself, to be even the student of one was an honor. And we have a spot here in Detroit. We have this wonderful lounge space, which is open Wednesdays through Sunday. So I'll be there tomorrow. Um, but it's called Detroit GRIO Music Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's owned by a good friend of mine, and I haven't seen him in a minute. So I really am actually going down there tomorrow. And John Taylor was very instrumental in the career of so many Detroit musicians. And like I said, for me, even to be a student, to be at his feet, to be able to sit next to him while he's DJing, is such an honor, you know. And I love history so much. You know, my bachelor's degree and my master's degree are both in history. And I love history so much. Sometimes it hurts, you know, sometimes it just hurts. It hurts so much how much I love our history. I love our people. I love how proud I am of us as a community. Um, that's, to circle back about critical race theory and how challenging it is for me to see people fighting back against telling the truth about America. It's really heartbreaking, but I persist. I persist and I persevere.
That's right. That's right. For those people who are tuned in with us right now, we're talking to Biba, the Diva Adams, and she writes for the GRIO. She also writes for Model D. And before things were written down all over the place, there was a person who studied the environment. They studied what was happening, and they passed the message along from one generation to the next. And what I want to co-champion with Biba tonight on is that we should look to either study at the feet of a storyteller or become a storyteller ourselves. We have to get into the position of controlling the narratives that speak about us. Bibo, how important do you think it is for us to control the narrative about people that look like you and I, as opposed to just relying on so-called traditional media outlets?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you and I became acquainted through my work relationship with Damon Dash. Um, I'm Damon's biographer, and I do a lot of work for him and a lot of writing for him. And if anything, I mean, Dame is like one person that will always tell you to own your own.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
there's not another black man that's gonna be like, be a boss,
that's right. That's right.
that than Dame. And so I think that's one of the things that I've learned from him through my experience at working with Poppington is owning, directing and telling your own narrative.
That's right.
Dame, there was a lot of times, with working with through his experiences with Rockefeller, that he wasn't the person with the microphone, but ultimately he found a way through Instagram, through social media, through making the media tell the story that he wants to tell.
Sure.
He's been able to change and direct his own narrative. And so I really appreciate having him in my life as a mentor and being able to do the work that I do with him. And so also I would love to we could definitely talk a little bit more about Dame, but I would also want to tell your readers and listeners and watchers to find a great mentor, find somebody that you really admire who is willing to share, their time and their spirit and their energy with you, because it can really transform your life.
100%. Much respect for Dame Dash. I've been a lifelong fan.
He's probably gonna watch this. Hey, Dame.
I've been a lifelong not only fan but observer of his thoughts and his actions and the response of the general public. I've been a member of the response of the things that he's decided to do. He said, I'm going to create my own media network so that I can create my own conversation, so that I can impact the narrative that occurs about my people in this country. One of the most powerful things that one can do, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you onto the show, is to write your own narrative about yourself, your own people, your own perspectives. It's one of the most important, valuable things for you to choose to do. That was a divine calling on your life when you said, I know I decided to be a dentist, but I'm actually going to become a storyteller on behalf of my people. I'm going to write meticulously about our perspectives, because guess what? The young children growing up, the young adults looking for more wisdom and more mentorship, the grown folks looking back on the younger generations, all these people need to listen to a frequency that resonates with theirs. And without a frequency like Biba, the Diva Adams, they're looking through, they're sifting through so many commentators, so many so-called analysts, and nothing is ringing a bell with them. Nothing is connecting effectively, because it's not spoken from a soul that resembles the reader. And so what Dame Dash did is he said, you know what? If I am too real, if my keeping it real goes wrong on your network when my heart is in the right place, and I wouldn't tell my own people anything wrong, then I'm going to put my savings and all my creativity into creating my own outlet so I can make sure the message gets through to my people. And I am extremely passionate about making sure that my message gets through to my people. It's bigger than, do I have permission?
Mm-hmm.
It's more critical than that, because we connect like dots. We need one another's perspectives in order to arrive at our next conclusion. That's how I see it. And so without all of us, chipping our perspective into the hat, then we can't get anywhere. You can't get on one accord. And so, like I said, much respect to Dame Dash for creating a network, and much respect to you, Biba, for deciding to become a writer. Now, what is your process like when you write? For those people out there who write, they need some advice from you.
Yeah, I definitely want to address a couple of things that you said. I really appreciate that so much. Like, I was trying to hold back, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm not getting ready to cry on this interview.
Let's go.
But thank you so much. And I mean, I think I can speak for Dame and Raquel when I say that, they create the content that they create, and we're creating the future content that we want to create, just with, it's very much with a peace of mind, with a sense of community. He's had a challenging reputation for a really long time in our culture, but knowing him, I've come to find, like, this is one of the most generous people that I've ever met in my life. And his heart is really and truly in the right place. So I look forward to the things that we're getting ready to bring to you all. As it relates to my writing process, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think that a writer is a writer. I think that when you start thinking about, like, oh, what's my process, whatever, it's what you think it is. It's the way that you think it is. It's when you writing. I write all the time. I write when when I'm in a car driving. Sometimes something to come to me. I just write all the time. And so you just have to, like you said, like hashtag, like, let it flow. You have to let it flow, let it breathe. Don't worry about what it sounds like, what it looks like. For me, I'm not an audio person. Like, a lot of people say that they can, like, record themselves and go back and listen to it later. I'm not that kind of person. Like, I don't do well when it comes to that. For me, my words flow down, my right arm. So I have to write everything down.
That's right.
But that's just a matter of knowing yourself. And I think as human beings, as adult human beings, the most important thing that you should be working on is knowing yourself. Know who you are. Be able to tell someone, who are you? be able to answer that question.
That's right.
If you can't answer that question, you know, then go back and find the damn answer. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
I'm not gonna say like, oh, you're lost in the game. No, go back. Go
Right.
back, figure out the answer, and come up with two sentences.
That's right. You know what?
Who am I? I
Yeah,
am I am Biba Adams. I am a writer, an educator, and an inspirator through words and music.
that's right. That's right.
That's off the top because that's actually not my elevator pitch.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I firmly see that when we have conversations, that there are nuggets of the ultimate truth that are sprinkled throughout that conversation and that interaction that is just waiting to be collected. And inside of this hour on America's Next Motivator, I want to collect some of those key nuggets that were dropped tonight. We opened up talking about the value of storytelling, and it took you all around the country, from Atlanta, all the way back to Detroit, and the power of the GRIO, the fact that we have to control our own narratives, the reality that the world is telling us. When I say us, I'm talking about people that look like you and I, telling us some things that aren't exactly true about ourselves. And even if it's not that they're telling us some things that aren't exactly true about ourselves, they are omitting information about our greatness. And so, how fantastic is it that in a world where storytelling is true and storytelling is valuable, we start our story with slavery far too often. Our story ends with whatever job we had before we died far too often. But that middle piece, like you said a few minutes ago, that middle piece is often glossed over. That journey, the whole journey where your destiny is trying to get you to see itself. You can't see your own journey when you're not getting the real narrative. The real narrative is, like the Dame Dash Network is telling you, eat right. Know that your higher self is relevant. Listen to your higher self. Just 3-4 minutes ago, you said that your words come down your right arm. And so there's something for us to be paying attention to that far too many of us are not paying attention to. And that is the story of your soul trying to manifest. Disregard all the millions of other narratives out there. Your soul is trying to break through and express yourself. The world really becomes ours when our soul gets an opportunity to express itself. And so I wanted to collect all of that tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to get in the mirror, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and begin expressing yourself. Guess what? You've done a lot of reading in your life. It's time for you to write something. It's time for you to tell your story. It's time for you to become a griot in your own right. It's time for you to eat better. It's time for you to work out. It's time for you to let the world know who you are. Now, you wrote a story recently about the Emmanuel 9 victims.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about the Emmanuel 9 victims, if you will.
Yeah, thanks so much. First of all, your words were so beautiful and so inspirational, and I would really inspire and co-sign that and ask your readers as they, if you're doing some self-work, if you're, just taking some time to think about yourself, think about two sentences. Write two sentences down that say, who am I? And I'm gonna work on that as well. I think I need a refresh and an update. So I'm gonna work on that as well. But that would be my homework.
Okay.
But yeah, so I appreciate you sharing that. It's really challenging. I still remember very vividly the day that we lost the 9 members of Mother Emanuel AME Church. And I hadn't written a poem, I don't think, in 10-15 years, but I wrote a poem behind that. And I don't have it with me because I wasn't super prepared to talk about that tonight. But there, one thing that I did write a news story about it today, and I was really inspired by our brother Jackson, Susie Jackson's grandson, who has taken up the mantle, and he's run for public office. Now he's on the school board, and working on the school board after his grandmother was killed in that shooting. And that resonates with me. You know, I lost 3 family members to COVID-19. I lost my mother, I lost her sister, my aunt, and I lost their mother, my grandmother. I lost 3 members of my family to COVID. Early 2020, my family, they just they got the virus, they got very sick, and they died. And my life has not been the same ever since. I was talking to someone about it, and I was able to say that it feels like I'm transformed at a cellular level.
Wow.
Like at the inside the depths of me, I am changed. I was an only child. I was my mother's only child. And not having my mom here just to say, you know, just putting on a cute outfit, you know, and not hearing her say, okay, you know, where we going? You know, just the smallest things. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
So, you know, just, and I told my story because, you know, when I lost my family, you know, it was very early last year. It was March and April of last year, and we were all shocked at what was happening. And being a person of somewhat, you know, notability and notoriety, my story ended up going viral, and, you know, was shared by Sean King and all these other people that ended up sending, you know, I just put out a tweet. I put out a tweet when my mom died, and I only put it out because I just wanted to let my friends know. And then I went to bed, and I get up the next morning, and it's been like shared 50,000 times, you know. And I only continue to tell the story about what happened to my family because 600,000 people have died.
That's right. That's right.
And you see, when you watch CNN, you see that little ticker on the side, and it says 600,000 people. I want everybody to know there is a family behind each one of those numbers.
That's right.
There are children, there are husbands, there are best friends, there are brothers and sisters. And so we are, you know, the coronavirus pandemic, you know, inshallah, is coming to an end, but the ramifications of it and what we will learn from it will persist in our culture for years and years and years to come.
That's
and
right.
So I miss my mother every single day. My life has changed a lot even since my mother died. I've gotten jobs, I've gotten money just flowing out the sky, you know, and I know that's her up in heaven, you
That's
know,
right.
just whispered in God's ear, like, send my baby some
That's right.
cash, you know.
That's right. That's her.
And
That's her.
so but I do, you know, I do want to inspire people and hope that people who have lost others to the pandemic, and hope that we don't trivialize it. It's
That's right.
not just about wearing a mask and
That's right.
you know, it was a deadly virus, and it took people, it devastated my family.
Our entire world is different. Figure out how to consolidate who you are in a few sentences. That takes years. We have years of work to do. Biba, we've got 15 seconds left in the show. I need you to answer 3 questions in 15 seconds.
Go.
The first question, what is survival to you?
Perseverance.
What is success to you?
Perseverance.
What is greatness to you?
Perseverance.
Biba, the Diva Adams, I want to let you know, I've listened to your story today. I appreciate you being here with us. The way that you consolidated something so important with us. You related to a lot of people tonight. I'm giving you respect today while you're here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. Put your crown emojis into the chat. We are letting you know, letting the world know that you, Biba the Diva Adams, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you all. You have my love.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
God bless you.
Stick around, all right? Don't leave the studio yet.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do is stop by and pick it up.